Welcome back to the channel. My name is Thomas Fletcher and I'm the host of the LCSW network. If you're new to the channel, please do me a favor by smashing that like button, by subscribing to the channel, and by sharing this video with your social work colleagues and friends. The purpose of this channel is to create a community of hope and support where social workers can come for relevant news, information, and inspiration. So welcome back to Season 6, Episode 3 of our Self-Care Saturday series. Today's topic, we will be covering 10 time management tips for busy mental health professionals. All right, so we know that time management is crucial for mental health professionals, given the demands of client sessions, documentation, self-care, and professional development. So again, we will be covering 10 practical tips tailored for busy mental health professionals. Our first tip is prioritizing tasks. So what we are going to use is we are going to use a matrix. And this matrix will have two different axes. On the vertical axis, we will have at the bottom non-urgent, and at the top of this vertical axis, we will have urgent. Okay? So non-urgent to urgent task, all right? And then in the horizontal axis, we will have non-important to important, all right? So again, non-urgent to urgent, non-important to very important, okay? So that's one way there. And again, once we have this graph of axes, urgent axis and important axis, now we are going to determine which tasks are urgent and important, which tasks are non-urgent and important, which tasks are urgent, non-important, and which tasks are non-urgent and non-important. So that's how we're going to prioritize our tasks. The other point that we want to make in this tip is we want to focus on client care and critical documentation first. So those will be the highest priorities, followed by professional development and administrative tasks. Okay. Our second tip is setting boundaries. So firstly, we want to establish our work hours. We want to stick to a schedule to avoid burnout. We want to avoid overloading our calendars with back-to-back sessions. I know, easier said than done, but this is how we create healthy boundaries. The second bullet point within this tip is we want to communicate our limits. So we want to let our clients and our colleagues know our availability for meetings, consultations, and correspondence. Okay, so that's setting boundaries. Tip number 3, efficient scheduling. So we want to block our time. And how do we do this? We dedicate specific blocks for client sessions, administrative work, and self-care. And how do we do this? We can use technology. There are various scheduling apps, including Calendly. I know many of you are using Calendly. We also have Google Calendar as another scheduling app so that we can streamline our booking and avoid double booking, right? Tip number 4, we want to streamline our documentation. How do we do this? Step 1, by creating templates. So we can use pre-made templates for common documentation such as our progress notes, our treatment plans, our assessments, right? Step number 2 within this streamlining documentation is we want to schedule immediately, meaning we want to complete notes immediately after sessions to reduce backlog. All right, and the third way to streamline our documentation is using dictation tools. So there are, again, various voice-to-text software that can help us to save time on typing. All right. Tip number 5, delegate when possible. So, hire support staff or use virtual assistants to handle tasks like billing, scheduling, or intake forms. Okay, very important. Delegate whenever possible. Tip number 6, minimize interruptions. And I use this one a lot myself. Use a do not disturb system for your office during certain hours, right? And another way is to turn off non-essential notifications during client sessions or focus periods. All right. Tip number 7, invest in professional growth wisely. So choose workshops, webinars, or courses that align with your career goals and client needs. Avoid overcommitting to unnecessary training. Tip number 8, which is a big part of this channel, practicing self-care. So schedule downtime and adhere to it. Remember that your well-being is critical to providing effective care. And again, that's all we talk about on this channel, practicing self-care. And how can we practice self-care during our work days? We can incorporate mindfulness or relaxation techniques into our day to manage stress, right? So again, we talk about that all the time. Tip number 9, batching similar tasks. So we can group similar activities like returning calls, replying to emails, scheduling appointments into one time block to maintain focus. Very important. And our last tip that we're going to talk about today is reviewing and reflecting. So weekly review your schedule and adjust for better balance. Identify what worked and where you can improve. All right. So by implementing these strategies, you can maximize productivity, reduce stress, and maintain your well-being while providing high quality care. So I'm going to quickly review our 10 time management tips for busy mental health professionals. The first one that we talked about is prioritizing tasks. Tip number 2, setting boundaries. Tip number 3, efficient scheduling by blocking our time and using technology. Tip number 4, we talked about streamlining our documentation by creating templates, scheduling immediately, and using dictation tools. Tip number 5, we talked about delegation whenever possible. Tip number 6, minimizing interruptions by using do not disturb systems and turning off non-essential notifications. Tip number 7, we talked about investing in professional growth wisely. Tip number 8, we talked about practicing self-care. Tip number 9, we talked about batching similar tasks. And tip number 10, we talked about reviewing and reflecting every week, reviewing and reflecting upon our weekly schedules and making adjustments for better balance. All right, so I'm going to stop right there. I hope these tips will be helpful to you. I hope they are helpful to you. Please let me know if you have additional tips that I may have neglected to talk about. I'd love to hear what your tips are for time management. All right, so I'm going to stop right there, but I want to thank you all for watching this video. For all the social workers and other licensed mental health professionals, thank you for the work that you do every day, for your clients, for your agency, and for the profession. Please continue to support each other and yourselves. Bye for now.